Alright guys, some of the infamous mental health panel. Let's see what we've got.
These stories, you can hear the stories again and again and again. It's still going to have the same emotional impact because it's just that devastating. And has
Okay, notice the asynchronicity between her words and her face. Yeah, the emotional impact, and it's so devastating. Like, zero emotion on her face. Like, her face is totally frozen, and the way she says so devastating to me is like, I don't know, that like, oh my gosh, it's such a big, horrible, like that. Just like, was that a Valley Girl accent they call it?
So our kids are really young, they're 2.5 and 4.5. But social media is not going away. And look, I think by design, there was an entry point that's supposed to be positive and creating community.
Her expressions are so strange. Also, I don't think that's true. I don't think social media was about creating community, but her expressions just really don't fit her words at all. And also, like, this whole vibe of this seems a little bit unreal to me. Like, it doesn't seem like a legitimate panel. Again, it seems like everything's PR. How do we get in front of people? Like, well, who are Harry and Meghan? You know, it's like we complain a lot, so we're experts on mental health. Like, why don't you get someone who's like an actual expert?
And something has devolved. And there's no way to hear that and not try to help these families have their stories be heard. My husband and I often say,
What help are you actually doing? And now she's like, again, she just says nothing. It drives me nuts. Like, there's nothing, I can barely even comment on this.
there's going to be so much focus on what we're doing than to try to focus on what we're focusing on, because their
What does
stories
that
are
mean?
what matter.
What did she just say? We're trying to focus on what we're doing, but not focus on what we're focused on doing? Did she literally just say that? Makes absolutely no sense. By the way, everyone, thanks for watching. My gosh.
Trying to safeguard so many other families from experiencing this level of pain.
What?
So for us, it's just, what is the solution?
When she said pain, she's like, pain? Like these huge blinks.
And what can we do behind the scenes? What do we continue to do behind the scenes? How can we work with professionals and experts?
She's always talking about behind the scenes. So again, it's the opposite of what she does. And again, I think so much of what she says comes from a PR company telling her what to say. So you want to say that you're behind the scenes. You want to make it seem like you don't want the attention, but it just comes to you. So she's always in front of everybody. They're taking all these opportunities, any of these like fake events, fake charities that they can do, or anything where they could shove themselves into to be in front of people, to control their image. And then it always says, oh, I'm working behind the scenes, like bragging even more about what they're doing.
To really figure out, in knowing this is not going away, how do we make it safer, better, more positive, so that
Good
whether
question.
someone is losing a child or almost losing a child, those are some of the other stories we've heard, right? That
I feel like, again, her empathy is not remotely there. And listen to all the cameras, right? Like, is this a real mental health panel? Is that how mental health panels work? Just like taking still images of Meghan Markle? Like, is that what you're trying to get out of a mental health panel? Like, that's actually about solving problems? Again, this is a freaking PR stunt. Everything's a PR stunt. And again, I thought they all had PTSD or whatever about cameras.
of a young girl's going on looking for healthy recipes, but an algorithm starts giving her nothing but inspiration and anorexia, and she's hospitalized as a result of that.
What?
There are so many twists and turns that can be avoided. So we're hoping to be part of that solution, all of us together as a community.
And of course, it's only girls. You know, guys don't matter to her. It's all, there's got to be a little bit of a divisiveness to it. And again, I'm not saying you can't have particular issues to particular people, but she always talks about girls and then does the opposite. She's super competitive with women.
Dr. Murthy, you put out an advisory since you've been Surgeon General.
Look how she looks like very worried and concerned. Is it like, oh my, I think she's in competition, right? They're about to ask someone else a question. I think she's concerned. That's my guess. Like, okay, what's going to happen?
Mental health as it pertains to the youth.
Oh, see, it's somebody else. It's like it.
And added sort of the social media
Yeah, because now they're going to actually talk to a doctor. Let's see. Hopefully we can see her.
impact on youth. I wonder what are you hearing from parents across the country?
Well, Carson, first, I just also want to recognize this, the power and bravery of the parents that we met today. I understand Amy never talked not detract. Few parents, sometimes it's Harry and Meghan, and so often they'll tell me about their
Now we can
struggles
see.
with their kids' mental health, but they'll almost say it in hushed tones because they think that they're the only ones who are struggling, or they'll think that it's a reflection on.
I don't really know. I don't know what to make of her reaction there. Harry looks dumbfounded, as always. He looks confused like most of the time. And again, I think he's just not smart. And you know what's a thought that I have on this sometimes? Like him with his like victim mentality. I think sometimes, honestly, that just is appealing to people aren't that smart, because like the world doesn't make sense to them, things don't make sense to them, things seem hard for them because they're just not smart. So when they hear an ideology like, oh, there's all these things against you, it makes sense to them because that's how it feels, right? Like, if Harry's out there with his brother and his brother is just, things are easier for him, rather than just be like, oh, my brother's a lot smarter than me, which is understandable from not want to hear that, is it's easier to be like, oh, there's this secret competition and I'm the spare and, I'm not privileged or whatever. I think that's where a lot of this comes from. And I noticed that not just people aren't smart, people are lazy. A lot of these like different buzzwords and victim things about the world just make sense to them because the world is, they can't navigate it because they're lazy or not intelligent.
Failed as a parent because their kids are struggling. And I suspect that many of us may have felt that way in this room and we're watching.
Meghan's face is frozen.
But that's what happens.
Look at Harry just looking off.
Supporting one another. We're not able to be open with one another.
Just look at that face. He just got all wide-eyed.
Part of this effort to address the mental
Meghan looked like she's listening a bit.
And I use that word intentionally.
Again, we said that she talks about girl mental health and all these girls' issues, but she does seem to be listening to him a bit more than she tends to listen to females when they speak. She tends to be like glaring at them. Like she's very competitive with other women. Maybe that's because that's like a big part of how she got her power. She gets her power by, in large part, talking about girls' issues, but then competing with other women to get with men to increase her status, which she's done throughout her life. Allegedly. Right? I'm supposed to add allegedly, right? But thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you subscribe and do notifications.